It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for Season 9 of The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at 2 new sneak peeks that were released for the next episode of Season 9, Episode 12, called Guardians. Now, one of these sneak peeks comes from AMC's YouTube page, while the other comes from Talking Dead. Now, both of these are concentrated towards the Whisperers. One has Alpha and Lydia, the other has Alpha, Lydia, Beta, and Henry. Beta is going to make his entrance in this episode, which is going to be very, very entertaining and very, very cool to see. I'm very excited for that. So with that said, let's start with the first sneak peek that was released on AMC's YouTube page. This one is called You Had to Lie. This first part of the sneak peek is actually very, very interesting, and it just tells you a lot about the mentality that Alpha has and, the philosophy that the Whisperers in general and also Alpha have. So first things first, in this specific sneak peek, we have Alpha actually becoming a caring mother. Of course, in the last episode, she slapped Lydia in front of everyone. And obviously from what Lydia told us about her past, we know how much of an abusive parent or mother Alpha is. But in this specific sneak peek, all of a sudden Alpha is turning out to be this caring mother. I think she's putting on an act to get the trust back from Lydia to an extent. But what she says, which is very interesting, which goes back to the philosophy that the Whisperers have, is that they're like animals. She mentioned this in the previous episode as well. But in this sneak peek, we have Alpha saying, "You know why I trust animals? Because they don't lie." That's very interesting. It is true to an extent. And it's also very interesting. And again, it tells us a lot about the philosophy that the Whisperers have and their mentality towards other human beings and how they see themselves more like animals. Then she says, "You had to lie, just like they did. It's what they do," referring to the survivors. So she's basically saying, you had to lie, but at this point, you're going to tell me the truth. And, you are going to become a true whisperer by being an animal and telling the truth. You know what I mean? So I think that's where she stands with that conversation. And obviously she's doing this to get Lydia to tell her exactly what happened with her at the hilltop. She wants to know everything. She says they're just words, air, nothing more, referring to, words that come out of your mouth. And, some of it could be lies, some of it could be the truth. So in a way, she's trying to intimidate Lydia and get her to talk, to tell her the truth. And then there's a part where she says, "Remember that." Like, she gives her an ultimatum in a way, where she says, "I want the truth. You have to lie sometimes, but don't ever lie to me, or there will be consequences." I feel like in a subtle way, that was her message to Lydia, this conversation. And then she reaches out, takes an apple from one of the other Whisperers that are with her, and gives it to Lydia. And the rest of this sneak peek is basically Lydia eating the apple and Alpha showing some level of emotion towards her in her own way. And that's basically the sneak peek that we got. Very, very interesting and very cool to kind of get some of this in-depth look at the philosophy of the Whisperers and what they believe in. Next up, we have a sneak peek that comes from Talking Dead. In the last episode of Talking Dead that aired after the last episode of The Walking Dead. Now, this one is absolutely cool. However, I do believe that they are revealing or releasing a little bit too much. In this specific sneak peek, they give us a lot more of Beta than I would have wanted to see before the episode, but it is an official sneak peek, that's why we're covering it. But it's basically the aftermath of what happens when Henry runs away, goes out looking for Lydia. Parts of this sneak peek were actually on the trailer as well, so we will see some overlaps with this sneak peek and what was in the trailer too. In this first bit of the sneak peek, we have someone looking at Alpha, Lydia, and the Whisperers. They're hiding, and as it's revealed, we see that it's Henry looking at them.
Put it down, boy.
And then all of a sudden, this Whisperer comes up behind Henry, says, "Put that down, boy." And he whispers it in a creepy, creepy way. But then we have the Whisperer basically confronting Henry and Henry is able to knock the guy out. So obviously the things Morgan taught him came in very, very handy at this point. But obviously he's not going to be able to fight off the next Whisperer that he's going to face. None other than Beta. Absolutely love this shot of Henry and Beta. Now again, I would have preferred to see this in the actual episode. I know they released this even in a trailer way before. But anyway, we have Beta showing up and he whoops Henry's ass in this specific scene. He throws him down, and then what we get, in addition to that, which I think again is too much, is Beta talking. I know we heard a bit of Beta talking in the trailer as well, but I would have wanted that to be more of a mystery, but they released that here, which is fine.
I've been tracking him since the Glades. He's been tracking us longer.
So we have Alpha, Lydia, and Beta there. Beta says he's been tracking us since and then he says a name I can't understand, but then he says he's been tracking us longer. Beta sounds freaky as hell. He sounds intimidating. Would love to see his conversation with maybe Daryl or Negan. That would be very interesting to see and hear. But then we have, of course, Lydia panicking a little bit in the back. As you can see, she didn't expect Henry to be there, and she's probably thinking they're probably going to kill Henry.
Jam? Justin.
Alpha says who else was there with them. Beta says it was just him.
Thank you, Beta.
Alpha says thank you, Beta, and I love the accent. I know some people don't like it, but I think it's pretty unique and interesting.
Who are you?
And she asks Henry in a very intimidating way, who are you? Now, they're not at the Whisperers camp, obviously, but there are a lot of Whisperers around. Henry, he's in big trouble. Obviously, he made a dumb decision going after the Whisperers in the first place. And then we see this shot of Henry. He's probably pissing his pants at this point. But that's basically the sneak peek that they released. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video. If you like what you see, press like, subscribe for more content, and press the bell button to receive notifications for daily uploads.